That's so good. As you were saying that, I was thinking of like a constellation, and if we know like what the vision of that constellation is supposed to be, and then we go to like show our kids or show our friends and like look up at the night sky with our loved one, and we're like, "Hey, half of that constellation isn't shining tonight. I wonder what you can't see the full picture." And I think that's like the beauty of all of us shining uniquely and dynamically is because we're supposed to make a full picture of Christ, right? Like that's truly our intention. He says, here on earth as it is in heaven, we're supposed to shine, city on a hill. And if half of the body of Christ, which I think it's more than half, honestly, I agree with you in what the church has or hasn't done in the equipping process, especially when it comes to us stepping into the purpose of our lives and the fulfillment of who we're called to be. We can't not shine. It's not a choice unless we decide to partner with the darkness, unless we decide to partner with the fact that I just let this ember burn out because it's not working for me. And you see a lot of times, and I was at a conference last year, and I saw all those like pie charts where every speaker, for some reason, that specific day got up and they talked about their particular pie chart. And a faith was an element of the pie chart. And it kind of made me cringe on the inside because I'm thinking, I hear you. I understand what you're saying, but really that makes it look like a checkbox because fitness is on that same one, or your family is on that same one. And even family, that's a really hard one to say like you're just a pie chart when I know you really embrace the idea that like let's break down those silos and let's exist in the entirety of who we are and celebrate that the faith is like what fuses us into that confidence, into that next level, and all of those other pieces are things that we get to do in the process.
That's so good. And it's natural for our human minds to try and
Yeah,
prioritize things, to
sure.
to put things into a very logical pattern, but the true miracles don't happen in the logical. They
Mm,
just don't. And so you're right. I mean, it's the overarching theme of everything in my life. Or at least that's when I'm operating at my best, when it's not so much the pie chart. It really is a matter of, what am I being called to pursue right now? Where am I being called to give my time? And that's always evolving, but it comes from really living in that place where I am dependent because I'm stepping beyond what I know myself to be capable of, and having a vision for my business, for my marriage, for my family. And when I'm at the place where I don't know exactly how to make it all work together, that's how I know I'm actually relying on faith in that moment. And it's always an ebb and flow. It's not like I never catch myself going back to like, okay, I just need
totally.
a I just need a season of like, I got this. I'm just gonna kind of make sure that what I've
Yes.
built is maintained.
Yeah.
Um, so it's never just looks one way. And I think that's important for people to know too.
Well, and I think too, one thing that you and I have both experienced, especially as we do go into these like higher level, and I say higher level, it's not like to pale or to put anyone down that they're not there yet. Just other people, when we go into mastermind settings, right, with people who have checked some boxes or achieved some element of success in some different bracket of their life. It could be physical, it could be mental. Often for us, it's likely entrepreneurial. And when I got into those spaces for the first time in my life, outside of what was my little community here, even though it's a big community but little, I my eyes were really opened to my own potential. And that was when that operating system, that GPS kind of like lit up and was like, yes, you are capable. And there are people in those arenas that have gotten to that glass ceiling. And I'm speaking, I know, to a lot of people in our community who they feel like they've kind of hit that echelon of whether it's a six-figure sign or whether it's the amount of followers that they have, or it's very like carnal that of what that glass ceiling is, and yet they want more. And I think that is the lacking of being in the entrepreneurial space and why it's so beautiful to be able to be in both. and have that faith meets entrepreneurial lens, because you realize that that lack of satisfaction, one, is what propels us to go further, but it's also not something we're ever going to find in one of those carnal assets, if that makes sense. How have you
Mm.
navigated that knowledge, that experience, those relationships, especially when a lot of the relationships, at least for me, I've experienced, don't really have that same element of faith?
Right. Yeah, it's tricky, right? Because I do believe we're called to be in the world
Yeah.
and to shine a different kind of light that makes people want to know what makes us different. And everyone's calling is going to be different. I even remember writing my book and praying about whether it should be directly faith based and
Yeah.
very much written through the lens that I live my life and I build my business. And for whatever reason, kept feeling that I was getting confirmation it was not meant to be basically positioned in the spirituality category, right?
Right. Right.
Because very much of like how I live and even just the opportunity to have this conversation is in a way that is meant to have people wonder what's different. And I will never shy away from sharing where I'm at in my faith journey. I want to do that in a way that makes others who are on the outskirts and really craving something deeper and realizing, wow, I'm just not finding that fulfillment no matter how much money I make, no matter how many of these external things I achieve, to make them view whatever we're doing as like, but there's just something different. It's not that it's more perfect. It's not that these people don't have challenges. In fact, they've come through some crazy challenges. Wow. And they still have this light about them.
Yeah.
And it's been an interesting journey, especially as an achiever. And I do believe that God wired me this way for a purpose. And the same thing that is what is one of my greatest tools for being able to do good in this world can also be the thing that can get in my way, because it's very easy as you step into some of these places to just think that you should want the same things that other people around you want, and maybe you do, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting more or even enjoying the things that come with it. But I almost think that for a lot of us, we go through a process where we realize that the thing we thought was going to give us the fulfillment actually isn't it. And as much as I could hear someone say that in on a podcast or hear someone else share their story of that, I had to have my own experience with it. I really had to, like, come to that understanding on my own so I could own that lesson. But there is, I think, this overarching, you just kind of have to find your place within this overarching conversation of that there's an end point we should all be working toward, because every single one of our callings is different.